So it's been 10 months since I posted my last fish videos, and this is going to be a permanent hobby channel for me. I'm going to try and record my tanks and my hobby as it goes on so that I can always have something to look back to and compare, and so I can share my hobby and get other people's feedback or meet new people or, whatever. I'm just trying to get more involved with it. And so my channel is called Brendan Minnow, and it just occurred to me, and I was like, well, my name is Brendan Mitchell, and so Brendan Minnow kind of fits, and I thought it was a funny name. But so I'm going to talk about my 4 tanks today and 2 tanks that I'm putting together, which I may transfer these into or may not. And I've got some outside stuff I want to show you if it stops raining, and I've got some books that I've bought, some kind of antique hobby books, one from the 1960s and one from the 90s and one from the early 2000s. So that's pretty interesting, and I can show you kind of what they wrote about the fish that I have. So today I'm going to show you my 20-gallon long, which has sparkling gouramis and Kuhli Loaches, my 10-gallon, which has some new white cloud minnows and some Corydora. They were sold to me as Corydora julii, but I'm pretty sure that they're Corydora Trilineatus, which seems to be pretty common, that they're mixed up. And then I've got here a kind of green right now, but I've got a 20-gallon with my original white cloud minnows in it. And I'm thinking about moving those outside into a tub and to try and breed them, which is why I bought more juvenile white cloud minnows, so I can kind of have a bigger breeding stock, because these have already bred and they're a little inbred, and I'm trying to make them better and not worse. So yeah, anyway, I'll go ahead and show you my tanks. So I'll start with the 20-gallon long first, because it's my favorite and it's doing the best, I think. And this has 6 sparkling gouramis in it and 4 Kuhli Loaches. And eventually I'd like to get some more Kuhli Loaches, but for now I'm working on other things. So this is a 20-gallon long. It has fluval stratum underneath some very small gravel, and on top of the gravel I put some sand. And for every tank I try to do a different substrate so I can experiment and see what grows best in different conditions. And I found that this tank is actually very slow growing. And I think it's because the gravel and the sand combination, the small gravel with the sand, is just a little too compact for the plants to really take off. And you can see that is a sparkling gourami. What's the scientific name? Trichopsis pumila. They're really, I think they're beautiful. When they mature and they start to color up really well, there's a reason they're called sparkling. They really do sparkle, and they do best in shade. Like, their colors do best in the shade. And they kind of like to fan their fins at each other and mark territory. And from what I've read from my books, and their native habitats is generally ditches or ponds, very dark, muddy water with lots of vegetation. And the pictures that I've seen of their native habitats, and these are from Southeast Asia, their native habitats are full of surface plants and immersed grown plants and just grasses and foliage just so thick that you can't even really see in the water at all. And they're definitely very shy fish. They're very used to me now, but when I first got them, they're extremely shy. But they know that I feed them. So let's see if we can find a Kuhli Loach. Generally, I find my Kuhli Loaches either hiding under this log or under the leaves. They like to make these little tunnels underneath the leaves and through the sand. And so they'll kind of hide in there sometimes and watch me. Oh, there's one hiding in the corner over there. Very reclusive, but also like to be together. So they really like to be among each other. And I may see another one in the grass, but I can't really see him. So this is probably about 6 months. It's been set up for 6 months, but I wasn't really taking care of it until the last couple months, to where I've been fertilizing it and doing like really regular water changes and things like that. So it's kind of just started really growing into itself. And so as far as plants go, I don't know what this is. I think it's Cambomba, maybe. Or it might be coontail. I haven't really gone online and like contrasting compared. But this is dwarf Sagittaria. And it's hard to believe that because it's called dwarf, but I actually just plucked these out of my 4-gallon and trimmed it back a little bit. And so this species is actually the same as this, which has been growing in here for a while. So you can see how slow the growth has been, whereas in my other tank, it's been 3 times as fast. And then we have a lily here. I actually collected that lily from a beaver dam down the road from me. And it really hasn't grown that much. I don't know if it doesn't like my water or doesn't like being right there, but it put roots into the soil, but it hasn't grown very much. And all of this is pearlweed, which I really like. It's actually my favorite plant that I have right now, I think. And I'm trying to figure out how it likes to grow. It seems to like to just be left alone, just completely left alone to do whatever it wants. Like you can see here, it's grown underneath this and then out. So yeah, and then I have some Anubias on the log. And some little dwarf Anubias. But I really like this tank. I especially like it later in the evening. The gouramis, after they're fed, they just kind of explore every little nook and cranny and try to look for things to hunt. But I really like these fish. They've got a good personality. They're very curious, but they're also very shy. But they're also kind of aggressive, because although they're small, they're kind of like a weenie dog or a Yorkie or a Chihuahua or something. It's like, because they're small, they're mighty. And they'll chase each other around. They'll fight over food. They'll steal food from the Kuhli Loaches sometimes. But it's funny, they won't fight with the Kuhli Loaches. That's my cat. Must have got tired of being in the rain. So here we have my 4-gallon. This was my very first tank. I bought it online and had it shipped to me. And back then I wasn't into keeping fish. I just wanted to keep plants. Because, I studied botany for my education. And I'd like to do something like that for my career. Although, to be honest, I'd like to farm plants for my career and have a nursery. That would actually be more enjoyable to me than being a scientist, I think. But I digress. This was my first tank, and now it's been through a lot of evolutions, but now it has pearlweed and dwarf sag and my cherry shrimp. And I bought about 4 or 5, maybe 6 cherry shrimp, and they were really good colors. They were all about like this guy. And they have bred like crazy and spread throughout all of my tanks. So now all of my tanks have cherry shrimp, and they're all different colors. And so I'm kind of wanting to start breeding shrimp when I rearrange my tanks. And see if I can start trying to sell shrimp online, because I think I have some really good ones. And if I just had a handful more of really high quality shrimp, I could build a colony and keep culling the colors I don't want. And then over time, I could have a nice, good colony of red shrimp and maybe pay for my hobby a little bit, because it's starting to get expensive. But yeah, anyway, that was a 4-gallon, and like I said, I wasn't into fish when I first got this, so I got a pretty small tank, and then I realized, oh no, I want a fish. Now this right here is my 10-gallon, and it currently has a few juvenile, I like to call them gold cloud instead of golden white cloud, gold cloud minnows. And it has 4 Corydora Trilineatus, which were sold to me as Corydora julii. And I originally bought 6, but I've lost 2 of them already. And I don't know why, but I'm guessing it was maybe some kind of genetic issue, because it hasn't spread to the others. And they don't show any signs of sickness, so... Yeah, this is my second oldest tank, and it's actually still got its original substrate. I put Fox Farm potting soil in the bottom of this, and then covered it with, I forget the brand, but Moonlight Sand. And it's just, the plants that are in here have been in here for 2 years. Except this dwarf lily. I bought that yesterday from a new aquarium store, which I finally visited, and I'd like to do like a video tour of that store because it was pretty nice. It's a young couple. They're both the same age as me, and it's the first real fish store I've ever been in. You know, they take it seriously, and they have really good selection, and they seem to take care of their fish. So I'm definitely going to be buying all my new fish from them. But yeah, so these are my little white clouds. There'll be a few months before they're mature, but, well, hey, Toothless. Anytime I look at the aquariums, he wants to be in front. It'll be a while before they're sexually mature, but I've noticed that these look very healthy, surprisingly, and I got them at a Petco, so that's really surprising. But they're pretty hardy fish. I'd recommend white clouds for any new fish keeper because they're just, you can't kill them. They're really hardy fish, and if you get a bunch of them all together, you can feed them a bunch of food, and you'll grow your plants really well. And it'd be a great first fish in like a 10-gallon just like this. Have about 10 or 12 of them, and they're really great. But my new favorites, I think, besides the sparkling gouramis, those are my old favorites. My new favorites are the Corydoras. And the reason I got into fish keeping was actually for Corydoras. And he's hiding behind that rock. You can't really see him. But I thought the Corydoras were the coolest fish I'd ever seen. And I instantly fell in love with them. And I've always wanted them. And now I finally have some. But, like I said, sadly, 2 of them died. But yeah, there's not much going on. It's a very simple tank. I've got the pot set up for the Corydora so they can hide in there. But to be honest, they don't even really use it. They actually prefer this leaf right here. You'll see all 4 of them hiding under the leaf at the same time, which is pretty funny because it's not that much space. And then here we have my very green water. Actually, not so much. It's getting better. My little green water 20-gallon. And there's about 10 white clouds in there. I've had a couple of them die. I don't think it was anything I did. They just didn't make it very long. They only lived a couple years, I guess. And this is a banana plant that I just got, which I'm very interested to see how it grows, which is, I didn't even realize, is a lily, which looking at it now is obvious. And we got the same plants in here. That's 2 Amazon swords, one right there and one right there. They're dying off their immersed leaves and growing their new submerged leaves, and they look pretty decent. I've been fertilizing a lot, so that's actually not why the water's green, believe it or not. It was green before I started fertilizing. But pearlweed, dwarf sage, a coontail, and I had 3 crypts planted in here, and 2 of them died. But this one right here has managed to survive. You can barely see it, but it's managed to survive. It's definitely not thriving, but it has 2 brand new leaves. So I'm hoping that the fertilizer I'm using is working. I'm using Aquarium Co-op fertilizer, Easy Green, but I'm also using a potassium and iron supplement, which I think has really been helping a lot of my plants, like especially my Java fern. It's finally, the brown spots have finally stopped progressing. I've paused it. So it's staying alive for once, which is surprising because usually they just die forever, infinitely. They never give up, but they're always dying. So yeah, that's pretty much where my tanks are at right now. Nothing too crazy. I think they're looking pretty decent, you know, the 20 gallon long and the 10 gallon. They look pretty. The water looks good. The fish look healthy and happy. But anyway, I guess I'll move on and show you my new setups I'm going to do. So as you can see, Toothless is the star of the show. This is a stand that I built myself. And I don't know why I'm using a flashlight, but it has less glare than my overhead light. So this is a stand that I built myself. It's not meant to look beautiful. It's just meant to be functional and waterproof. And so I should have sanded down the wood and I should have done a better job painting, but it doesn't really matter. It's just for me. So this is my 40 gallon long, or 40 gallon breeder. And I got some wood that I'm sinking there with some rocks, and I've got some sand and gravel on the bottom. And then I've got a 36 gallon bow front that I'm doing the same thing, sinking some wood, and some of it's floating up here. And I'm just kind of letting the substrate kind of become alive, I guess. You know, I feel like even just the water sitting in the tanks is kind of already getting things going, getting the cycle going, so that, you know, little critters and microscopic organisms can kind of start living in the substrate and living on the walls, and algae and fungus can start growing, and, you know, it just starts life. You know, just put water in there with some substrate and some wood and just let it, you know, become alive. Because I think what kills fish is sterile. You know, they're meant to be in nature. So anyway, that's gonna be my new setup, and I think I'm gonna do, in the bottom 40, I'm gonna do, you know, put my Corydoras in there, probably get some autosinkless after it gets a bunch of algae in there. Probably do a school of tetras, or small tetras, and then maybe do some, you know, some dwarf cichlids in there, or maybe a pistogramma or something like that. And then in the 36 bow front, I want to do all Asian fish. So I'm going to put my Kuhli Loaches in there, my sparkling gouramis maybe, some kind of dither schooling fish. You know, maybe I can put my white clouds in there and just keep the temperature at about 75. You know, so we'll see. I'm definitely going to do like some Vallisneria going up. But it'll just give me, I've never had big tanks, so it'll definitely give me some cool ideas to think about how I'm going to set them up. So here is a 55, I'm assuming, gallon drum. And I've just kind of filled it with sand, water, wood, and some plants from the pond on my property. And it's been filled with tap water, and then now the rainwater is just kind of mixing into it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I may put my white clouds in here, I may not. I was kind of thinking of, you know, maybe setting up a little solar panel with a battery powered air pump and seeing what I can do with that. But honestly, I don't even think the white clouds are worried about it. I don't think they need the oxygenation. It's pretty shaded, so I don't think the water is going to get very hot. You know, the water may get to 80, but only in the evenings, you know, so I think it'll be fine. And it's becoming fall, so I want to try and breed them and see if I can maybe give some away to the pet store, or just give them away to people, just to do it, you know, just to have something fun to do. I really like making babies, but the white clouds are the only thing I've ever bred. But definitely my favorite part of this hobby is breeding. I really enjoy it. So that's where I want to kind of go with that. So this is the pond behind where I'm staying. It is absolutely beautiful. And I think it gives me a lot of inspiration for my hobby and, you know, my education. There's a lot to learn from this pond, and it's got amazing, beautiful fish in it, a bunch of sunfish. And it's just beautiful. Like, it's just, I mean, look at the fog coming off of the water after the rain. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe you can't. It's absolutely beautiful. And the fish in here are so pretty. The colors on these sunfish are amazing. And the water is crystal clear. I've been told that it's spring fed, which would make sense. There's a lot of aquatic plants, or a lot of wetland plants along the border. A lot of Sarracenia, some other carnivorous plants, some sundews, sedges, and that plant right there is what I collected and put in the barrel. The sunfish breed in it, so I figure the white clouds will probably breed in it as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess I'll show you the books now. Okay, so the books I've got are Aquarium Plants by Dr. Karel Rataj. And we've got Exotic Aquarium Fishes by William T. Innes. And Labyrinth Fish, the Bubble Nest Builders by Horst, Linke, and published by Tetra. So, the first thing I wanted to show was the labyrinth fish. I have marked in here honey gourami, which is a potential fish I'm wanting to get, and then the sparkling gourami. So the sparkling gourami is all in the very Southeast Asia. And it's very interesting because when you see, you know, the natural habitat, this is really what I wanted to show. The natural habitat is Vietnam, Cambodia, West Malaysia, and Thailand. I've caught this species mostly in overgrown pond-like accumulations of water and in narrow, shallow ditches. In many instances, a close cover of floating plants left very little of the water surface open to the light. In the shallower zones of the biotope, the water temperature could be as high as 33 degrees Celsius, which is about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The oxygen levels were often very low. Usually these fish were found in the company of trigastar, etc. And generally they're seen in small groups of 6 to 10 individuals. And, you know, so I've been reading through these books, and I've found that the natural habitats section and the breeding sections are the most informative, way more informative than any YouTube channel, than any, you know, fish guru, anything like that, is just seeing what people found in the wild when they collected these fish. And this book, Aquarium Plants, is very informative. The only thing it doesn't detail is it doesn't talk about nutrient deficiencies or how to solve growth problems, but it does have pictures and details of all of the native locations of common aquarium plants. And it is just endlessly fascinating as someone who's studying botany and is into the aquarium hobby. It's just endless information. And I haven't found a plant I own or that's been sold at stores around me that isn't in this book. So it's very useful, and it's useful because it's firsthand knowledge. It's not experimentation. It's not secondhand fact sheets on, you know, fish.com or wherever you get your information from. It's firsthand accounts of these plants and a detail of where they're found, how they're growing, what they're growing next to. And it's just them in the wild, which to me is the most important information you can have about a plant, is where did it evolve to grow? You know, because that will tell me more than anything else how to grow it and how it will grow in my aquarium. So, very useful book. Now this book here I was told, is the Aquarium Bible. And it was a very, very popular book in the past. And you can still get more recent prints, but this is a 1960 print. And it's very fragile. The spine is a little torn. Exotic Aquarium Fishes, a work of general reference by William T. Innes. I have found that this book is very interesting. You could say it's a little outdated, maybe, but a lot of this information is just really common sense discoveries that are passed down by word of mouth now, but I can see where they came from in the past. And there's just a lot of information about the history of aquariums in this book. You know, there's this book goes through aquarium care, but then it also details all of the common fish at the time. And most of them are still very popular, but you'll find, you know, like, I may not be able to easily find it right now, but if you look for Corydora julii, let's see, here it is. Corydora julii. A distinctive importation of 1933. And very interestingly, I always wondered, well, you know, who was Julius? Because Corydora julii, that's the scientific notation, that's the scientific naming convention for naming something after somebody, is to do the double I. Well, it says, meaning of name. Julii, it is not known for what Julius this species was named, and it was formerly known as Corydoras leopardus, the leopard cory, which makes so much more sense. It obviously looks like a leopard. So I don't know who Julius was, but unless he was a really great fish keeper, and we should remember him throughout all of history, I like leopard cory much better. So anyway, this is just a very interesting book. You know, I may, after I read more and more, I may make a video about it. But yeah, I just wanted to show those off real quick. I really love the print on the front.